Hello everyone, welcome back to Kritha Studios. We have a very special guest with us, Deepcool AK620. With 6 heat pipes, 2 cooling towers, 2 cooling fans, and with just a height of 160 mm and a price of 5,000 bucks, it is no less than sorcery. And what's more, its performance comes really close to 140 mm dual tower coolers. So that is a really great thing, and it is almost heartening to see that nowadays, when everyone is focusing on AIOs and everything, brands are still taking premium air coolers into consideration and building good stuff. And Deepcool AK620 is a fine example of that. So when it comes to air coolers, the thing is that there isn't a lot you can do in terms of looks, because it's just a cooling tower. You can add LED fans and RGB and everything, but still the opportunities here in order to make the product look really good are scarce. So in this case, this cooler looks quite good. It starts with the heatsink itself. So it's not a plain aluminum heatsink. Both the towers have a sort of a matrix design, which Deepcool says improves cooling as well. But for the most part, that fin array is going to be towards the rear of your case, so it is not going to be very visible. But in places where it looks really good. The second thing is the top of the heatsink. So the heatsink covers. Now it does not have exposed heat pipes, which I personally do not like a lot. So like it was the case with Noctua NHD15, those exposed heat pipes, if covered with heatsink covers, look relatively better. And here with Deepcool AK620, you already get a heatsink cover on both the towers, and it looks really nice as well. Another thing that I really like about this cooler is the minimalism. So the branding and everything, it is understated, which is always good. So the top of the heatsink is black, and on there you have sort of a lagoon blue colored logo of Deepcool. Now this is a revised logo, and this branding continues to the box as well. Apart from the heat sinks, there are 2 120 mm fans, all blacked out, and they have rubber vibration dampers as well in order to contain the vibration of the fans. So in terms of the tools, we have an L-shaped screwdriver, thermal paste, and a splitter cable. Now the splitter cable is a bit scrawny, and it could have been a bit better in terms of quality, like that of Noctua. It could have been braided, it could have been covered or everything, but it's all right. The cable won't be seen a lot. Now in the box, apart from the tools and the mounting kits, you also get a manual, which could have been a bit more detailed. It is all right, it is not a big deal, but it could have been a bit more detailed. Obviously the reference point here is the Noctua NHD15. All the components that you need for the mounting kits are marked all right as well. So it is not a deal breaker, but it could have been better. The highlights of the feature set is, first of all, the height, 160 mm, which grants it a very wide compatibility. Fits in all kinds of cases, because for the most part, most cases come with at least 165 mm of air cooler clearance. So that is a good thing. And despite its shorter height, the RAM clearance sits at 43 mm. So for the most part, all sorts of modules will fit. And even if you have a taller module, even if you have taller RAM, you can still move the front fan upwards. And if you do that by about 5 mm, that would raise the overall height of the cooler by 5 mm, which would be 165 mm. And doing that, your RAM clearance will increase to 48 mm. And in that, I think most of the RAM modules available today can be accommodated. Let us move on to the installation. Since we have a Ryzen 7 3700X, we go with the stock AM4 backplate, over which you have to install 2 screws of sorts, which have standoffs on which you mount the base plate. Now the base plate has 2 sets of holes for AM3 and AM4. So you go with AM4 and you fix them with another set of screws. Now you have got the base plate attached to the motherboard. Now you just have to apply the thermal paste to the processor and place the heatsink on top of the base plate. Now you're going to tighten the screws, and you do that alternatively in order to spread the thermal paste evenly. And that is it about the installation. Another thing of note here is that since both the fans come pre-attached to the heatsink inside the box, you'll have to remove the middle fan in order to be able to tighten the screws. So once you're done with that, your cooler is ready to go. So now we are going to check out the performance, and I'm not going to go through the methodology again because we explained it in great detail in our Noctua HD15 review. So our first test is the noise normalized test, and we do noise normalized testing because all coolers have different fans, and those fans can brute force their way to better temperatures at the cost of noise, which we do not want. So here, where we are shooting this video and where we test stuff, the noise floor is 36 dBA and our noise normalized target is 40 dBA. When we chased that target with the Deepcool AK620, the fans in the BIOS were sitting at 70%. Our first test is the noise normalized test, and we first start with the idle temperatures. At 40 dBA, the fans of the Deepcool AK620 were spinning at around 1420 RPM, and the idle temperatures for our Ryzen 7 3700X Delta TDie 10.8 degrees Celsius. Now we are going to move on to the load temperatures, noise normalized, and the Delta TDie that we had on our Ryzen 7 was 54.8 degrees Celsius. Now we are going to let the fan spread its wings with 100% fan speed. Idle temperatures, Delta TDie was 10.3 degrees Celsius. And at 100% load, the Delta TDie rose up to 53.2 degrees Celsius. In addition to this testing, which is all very constrained and very loaded, we try to control as many aspects as possible. There's also a test for default. So in default, we set everything to whatever there was in the BIOS, including the fan speed and the boosting algorithms and everything. PBO is set to auto and everything else. In that scenario, the average speed for our Deepcool AK620 fans sat at around 1362 RPM, and the Delta TDie during this was 32.2 degrees Celsius. Now we are going to talk about the noise. So as I mentioned earlier, 36 dBA is the noise floor, and with 50% fans, the Deepcool AK620 was spinning at around 1020 RPM, and the dBA number was around 39 dBA. And with 100% fans, we sat at around 49 to nearly 50 dBA. Now it was fluctuating a lot, so let us go with 49, which is fairly loud, but then you also have to consider that the fans are 120 mm and they're spinning at nearly 1900 RPM. For the most part, the AK620 is a very good deal, and with a load of 123 watts, it did really well. Now I would like to get a more powerful processor in order to push it even more, but for the most part, I think that up to a load of 200 watts, this cooler is going to do really well. And for 5,000 bucks, you can save yourself the money from an AIO. So if you like the content, like the video, share, subscribe. It is going to help us in the long run, not in a monetary sense at the moment, but in boosting our morale, so that we can get more stuff for you guys to test and review. And that's it. Bye.